I know you are too, for sure. But I am still struggling with the events of January 6th, the trial that was conducted in the Senate last week, and the verdict that was rendered by the United States Senate as to the guilt of the filthy bastard Donald Trump. I can't get this reconciled. You know, I told myself over the weekend, and I may have even mentioned it in my weekend bonus podcast or in the Patreon podcast, of just moving on, that Trump is no longer center stage, that we have got to figure out ways to reconcile this country and get past the past 4 years of this filthy son of a bitch. But I can't. Because I realize that it was not just the past 4 years, it's the past 4 decades that this particular horror has been building within the Christian Fascist Party. It's been 4 centuries since the racism and destruction and violence against people of color has governed and determined how we are going to govern in this country. And I'm really hung up here. I'm just one more white guy who doesn't know whether to shit or go blind, as the expression goes. I mean, I'm totally lost here. I was watching something by Dave Chappelle over the weekend. Matter of fact, a little cut I tweeted or retweeted to my Twitter account if you want to look at it. But Chappelle is making the point, not that it needs to be made if you are conscious, but he's talking about the destruction that was heaped on Kaepernick, the former quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, and how because he took a knee, because he refused to bow any longer, when it came to the national anthem. Come on, Mike, wake up! Jesus Christ, wake up! But Colin Kaepernick refused to stand any longer for the national anthem for reasons that are extremely valid. And look what happened to him. And then on January 6th, 8,000 insane, drooling, vicious white people attacked the United States Capitol. And what happened after that? Led by the most vicious son of a bitch ever to be in the White House, Donald Trump. Instigated, led by, organized. And what happened to Donald Trump? Nothing. I mean, regarding this issue, he's facing a lot of criminal activity, but if you take a look at Donald Trump's past, his history, anytime he has faced the courts, he usually walks away with no problem and continues to pile up mountains of money. So whether or not Trump will get justice is an open question. Although I mentioned this over the weekend, I hope the most severe, painful form of justice will hit this orange son of a bitch like a Mack truck. Well, I can hope, right? But I'm trying to figure out, I've been trying to figure out those 43 Senate Republicans who licked his boots or licked part of his anatomy after finding out from the House impeachment managers that the son of a bitch had left them to die. And still, they give him virtual blowjobs. What the fuck? I cannot get that into my head. And Dana Milbank wrote something about it at the Washington Post. None of this is anything new that you haven't heard, that you don't know, unless you're a fox sewer eater, in which case you don't know any of this. But at the end, as Milbank points out, the darkest truth of the Orange Bastard's crime came to light at the end of the impeachment trial. And what happened was, as the Orange Bastards, thugs, bastards, marauders sacked the Capitol on January 6th in their violent, deadly attack to overturn the election, House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy called Trump and pleaded for the Orange Ape to call off the attack. Trump refused. And in his refusal, he more or less told McCarthy that he was getting what he deserved. In effect, the Orange Bastard, this slimy son of a bitch, was content to let members of Congress die. And his own vice president. This is the part that staggers me. After all that evidence was presented, I don't expect the real filthy Nazis in the U.S. Senate to do anything about it. I really don't. You know their names. But for 43 members to just say, okay, sure, that happened, but our exalted leader, Donald Trump, had nothing to do with it. What the fuck is going on here? I can't. This is the part where I'm hung up. And then the lawyers, in their slashing bullshit defense of Trump, claimed that Trump himself was, their word, horrified by the violence. They claimed that he didn't know that Pence was in danger of being murdered, and that he, the Orange Bastard, took immediate steps to counter the rioting. That's horseshit. All of that is a lie. We know it. His lawyers know it. Trump knows it. Pence knows it. Every fucking body knows it. So why this charade? In a statement Friday night, Representative Jamie Herrera Butler of Washington, a Republican who defended Trump during his final impeachment, momentarily threw the Senate's impeachment trial into chaos on that final day, because she revealed the claims by Trump's lawyers to be a goddamn lie. When Kevin McCarthy, and this is what Representative Butler, is that how you pronounce it? Butler, Jamie Herrera Butler. This is what she wrote. When McCarthy, quote, finally reached the president on January 6th and asked him to publicly and forcefully call off the riot, the president initially repeated the lie that it was Antifa that had breached the Capitol. She went on. McCarthy refuted that and told the president these were Trump supporters. And that's when, according to Kevin McCarthy, the president said, quote, well, Kevin, I guess these people are more upset about the election than you are. I mean, Trump was telling Kevin McCarthy to be prepared if he was caught and dragged someplace to be executed. That's what Trump was saying. I am more important than you, Kevin, than the Capitol, than this fucked up country that I've been the president of for 4 years. I am more important. Now, what Representative Herrera Butler said wasn't refuted. And the next day, Saturday afternoon, the senators agreed that her statement would be entered into the trial record as evidence. This was after all that bullshit debate when the Democrats finally decided that maybe it would be a good idea to call witnesses, and the scum, the filth that represented Trump immediately, and the senators who suck Trump, immediately said, well, you start calling witnesses, I'll call 1,000 of them. We'll drag this goddamn dog and pony show on for months. But even knowing all this, these Republicans, these Christian fascist son of a bitches voted to acquit Trump, which is just a filthy surrender to the political imperative that is known around the world when you're dealing with dictators, and that is don't cross the demagogue. But Dana Milbank insists the impeachment trial was not totally in vain because it revealed the ugly truth that this orange bastard knew that representatives and senators' lives were in danger from these thug, scum, cowardly son of a bitches, his supporters. And instead of helping people escape harm, Trump just laughed. Well, Kevin, I guess these people are more upset about the election than you are. And McCarthy continues to lick Trump's boots and other parts of his anatomy. This is the part where I am totally stuck. I can't even comprehend this kind of betrayal. I mean, supposing you had a friend that you knew for 40, 45 years, and you had done many favors for this friend, and the day came when all of a sudden you needed one, and you asked your friend, hey, can you help me with X, Y, and Z? And your friend said, oh, I'm sorry, no, of course not. What would you do? I mean, of course, the situation there could be anything. But would you not feel betrayed when you had asked for something of someone that you supported and that person more or less just spit in your face, which is what Trump did to McCarthy? And McCarthy had it coming because that slimy white man has been defending this orange bastard for 4 years. And Kevin McCarthy still didn't get it and still doesn't. Or he gets it and doesn't give a fuck because he is as much of a fascist as Trump. And McCarthy thinks he is going to be the new Speaker of the House in 2022. So anyway, back to the trial over the weekend, the Republicans, the Christian fascists, then just lost their shit trying to limit the damage of Herrera Beutler's revelation. Mitch McConnell, who had bullshitted everybody that he was open to the conviction, McConnell abandoned that pretense. And minutes before the Senate convened on Saturday, this ugly son of a bitch, McConnell, emailed his Republican colleagues that he is going to vote to acquit. And then that speech after the acquittal from McConnell, that slimy little hypocritical prick. Why? Why would these Republicans do this? They're supposed to be senators. These are filth and scum. Josh Hawley should be hanged for treason. And you know the rest of them, the senators and the House members who promoted this. Cruz, they should be tried, convicted, and hanged. Isn't that what they were recommending for Mike Pence, the vice president of the United States, the uber Christian who was simply at that moment following the Constitution when they wanted to hang him, because that's what their filthy, stinking Donald Trump, in coded language, let them know that he wanted. It's difficult for your humble and obedient servant here to process any of this. I thought over the weekend I could reach some kind of a compromise with that inner voice, that Jiminy Cricket that each of us has, that little voice of conscience that talks to you all the time, or sings you songs, or recites gibberish. You know what I'm talking about. You know that voice. The only way you can shut it down is, the only way to really shut it down is with meditation, maybe. But that voice in my head just keeps rattling on, and I want it to shut the fuck up. I would like to, and I've tried to tell that voice in my head who keeps saying, but why, Mike? Why do you suppose these Republicans are doing this? And the only answer I have is they are not Republicans, little voice. These are Christian fascists, and they have a goal. And it's the usurpation of power in this country. Take it away from the people. Give it to a governing board of Christian Nazis who will then determine every single aspect of life, as Margaret Atwood has pointed out in her novels over and over again. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. As you know, we've switched formats and are now broadcast exclusively on the Progressive Voices Network. So that means you get fewer program interruptions, no corporate commercials, and lots of profanity. But our format change also means some of our radio listeners no longer hear the program. It's been a while since I mentioned our podcasts, so you may have forgotten that there is a way to listen to this program anytime you need a good dose of screaming. Visit MikeMalloy.com and subscribe to our podcast. As a podcast subscriber, you can download the program to your mobile device and take me with you wherever you go. And if you have a friend who needs a dose of truth-seeking, you can give a gift subscription as well. That's MikeMalloy.com, and never miss a minute of the uncensored fun and frivolity.